Well, hello, hello, and I will be with you in one moment. Please excuse me, excuse me. Okay, so we are live and getting ready to thrive. Welcome again. I am super, super excited to this special edition of the Sonya Dungee podcast. We are celebrating number two, part two, day two of 100 episodes. And in that, um, I invited some special guests once again. I am a little bit late, fashionably late, because I was fortunate enough that I have a glam team to put me together. So thank you for my glam team for that. Let me just put it up a little bit more so you can kind of see. See, I got my sparklies on today. And ready to celebrate. Let's see. Okay. So if and when, let's see. Okay. So if and when I did invite some former special guests who are family and friends of mine as well. So if they can make it, wonderful. But we are going to go ahead and start. So with that being said, I got to say it. Great evening, great evening, great evening. Welcome to our special edition of the Sonya Dungee podcast celebration part two. We will be celebrating the good, the bad, the indifferent of 100 episodes, as well as lives, the pop-ups, and walk and talks with Sonya as well. So I am adding my guests to the stage as they come. I will. So welcome. Hello, big sis, Coach Dawn Allen. Thank
Hey,
you
hey,
for,
hey.
for agreeing to come and celebrate our part two. How fitting it is on New Year's Eve. Of all the places in the world you could be, thank you for coming and joining me live. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. And as I said before, good evening, and good evening. Welcome to the Sonya Dungee podcast, sponsored by Always Destined for Greatness LLC, where conversation is always the essence of the soul. I am your host, Sonya Dungee, and yes, Mr. Mitch Race. Yes, indeed. I am still bringing the heat to the Facebook, YouTube, and the IG streets. And I just want to pop over and check out my friends. Yes. So, hello at Instagram. Thank you for joining as well. I appreciate, and I see some new faces that I haven't seen before. So, thank you so much. Yes, so my producer is ready for me. And for those of you who don't know, that would be my grandson. We call him the AV little guy, Namari. And so they're in another room because he would be in here helping adjusting the lights and everything else. So that's why Santa Claus brought him for Christmas his own AV equipment so that he can adjust it and do his thing as well. So I took the time and I started calculating exactly what has transpired over the past 100 episodes. And with that, we actually started our first one that aired on 5/5/23, and it was Essence of the Soul at the time. And we talked about self-love. We talked about it's okay to say no, and we talked about who's speaking. And then I went back and then I restarted again. And so I was like, whoa. So when I started calculating, if you look on my post, like the numbers are off, but the reality is they're not, because we started really getting into it. And I'll tell the story briefly because it is funny. What happened in the first episode was I thought I was doing something. I thought I was doing something big. I was nervous. I wanted to come live. I wanted to share my story. I wanted to help those that I was assigned to go from where I once was to where I then was. And in the excitement, my first time on social media in that regard, did not realize that I was in practice mode, and I dropped the mic at the end. I was relieved I put it all out, and lo and behold, I wasn't live. So my mentor was texting me, and I was like, "Why is he texting me? He knows that I'm live." And my sister was trying to call me, and I'm like, "Why why is she trying to call me? Because she knows that I'm live." So she reached out to my daughter's dad and told him, and he broke the news to me, and I was just flabbergasted. But in the end, I said, well, you know what? I don't care what time it is. I don't care who is able to watch live because I know they'll catch the replay. But 1 o'clock in the morning, there I was, as well as my sister for support. Thank you so much, big sis. And I finished my first episode. So that aired back on 5/5/23. And since then, it has been a whirlwind. So I started jotting down some of the episodes and their meaning, and let me jump back over here also. Okay, okay. We're adding it to the stage. Okay. I have another special guest that you might want to come off and go back on because for whatever reason. Oh, there you are. There you go. You're coming on. So I also want to welcome there's the AV guy. Yes, my daughter, my oldest daughter, Miss Brittany Mack, and there's the AV guy also to the celebration. So thank you for joining, Namari, as well. So going back, and I'm going to be jumping back and forth because I've learned how to do it right now. And when people leave comments, I want to be able to see the comments left. The producer is ready for you. Thank you. Yes, the producer is on live as well. So thank you very much for that. He was sleeping. I can hear you. Yes.
But I was trying to surprise you, but I got surprised instead. I called our sister in Sweden to have her jump on for a few minutes to wish you, for your celebration. But they were dressed up in gold, and so they had their hats on. Right now, it's New Year's in Sweden. So I called at 5:30. When I called at 5:30, it's like 11:30 for them. So we talked a few minutes. Okay. So it's mid. So I told you, okay, you can't jump on right now. Maybe after the podcast we can call them. So right now it's the New Year 2025 in Sweden.
Yes, Happy New Year in Sweden.
Yeah,
and thank you so much for doing that.
Jump on, but they're celebrating the New Year.
No wonder why you ignored me. I was like, where? She's not answering, but okay. Thank you. That was a pleasant surprise. Thank you so much. So hopefully they'll join us as well. But they're celebrating New Year's, and they might not be
and they have glasses
to anybody
so,
when they finish celebrating.
And they have guests. They have guests and stuff. So yeah. So probably not.
Oh, nice.
For them.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right. So in our episode 2, we talked about the podcast and the meaning of it, and I started gaining some more confidence. And in episode 4, I was kicking the Bible. I was preaching about Proverbs 3:5-6, and then we talked about trip and falls because I was worried about our seniors, and we had a deeper awareness of domestic violence. We talked about anti-bullying, and then came episode number 8. And in number 8, we had my first guest speaker, which was Miss Tennille Stewart, on, and we had a lot of fun. And it was funny, though, I gotta say it. So if you ever get an opportunity, it might say episode 7 on my wall, but it's actually episode 8, and you'll see Tennille. And at one point, she's smiling, and then you see some sheets on the floor. And so anything happens when you're live, and it was funny. We were able to regroup and just carry back along. with some seriousness in it, and we were able to fellowship. So we had fun in that. We talked about cybersecurity and homelessness, and then came episode number 11. And episode number 11, let's add her back to the stage, her and the Namari man. So in episode number 11, my daughter, life coach Brittany Mack, was on, and it was supposed to be an interview about me interviewing her. But in the end, it was about her interviewing me and asking me, when am I going to have my first master class? And I was like, listen, chick, slow it down. Like I'm the host, but I let her do her thing. And I'm glad that she did push me, because soon after I did launch my first master class, which we'll talk about that as well. And then episode 12 was the male perspective, and that was we had two amazing gentlemen come on, Ernesto Cardena Jr. and Mr. Mitch Race, and in that we spoke about the male perspective, because I wanted to know about wearing your heart on your sleeve, and why do some men think that it's not cool to cry. And so we fellowshipped, and they gave their opinion, and I never try to sway anybody. I just try to get the facts, or just lay everything out there, just like my big sis does on her podcast. But they both agreed, them personally, that it was okay to cry and show emotion, because if you hold that back, it leads to other things, such as mental anguish and even physical anguish. So that was an amazing podcast, and that was in episode number 12. We talked about being grateful, and we gave back, and we talked about building self-love. We detoxed, we decluttered. And then came episode number 24 with Mr. Anthony Smith. He broke down the financials, which Mr. Anthony Smith is incredible. When he breaks it down, he breaks it down. I cannot listen to him without pen and paper in hand, because if he's going to give it free, I'm going to catch those golden nuggets free as well. And we went along, pushed along, and then episode 36 came along with Miss Ideli Santiago. And by then we had a new name. We went from Essence of the Soul to the Sonya Dungee podcast, but even so, it's Sonya Dungee podcast still has Essence of the Soul, because conversation is always the essence of the soul. So we had that in there. And then we had in episode 40, I can't believe it was episode 40. It seems like it was a minute ago. We had the winners of the 30-day challenge, which was Miss Lillian Estrella. She won being co-host of the day, because there she was. She was serious about it. She was sending text messages. She was sending videos. She was posting to her own social media platforms, and she was getting it in. And she was amazing and really was deserving of it. So she came on and she rocked the house, okay, as she was some professional that's been doing it a long time. And first place runner up was Big Sis, Coach Dawn Allen. I did not plan that. Also, Mr. Mitch Race, and they were both serious too. They were sending pictures, and Mitch was reclining in a chair with his feet up one day, and he was he had made a smoothie and was enjoying that, and it was just amazing. And my hopes is that is continuing on a daily basis, and it doesn't have to necessarily wait for a challenge of any sort. Then we went on to episode 45, and we had Mr. Anthony Smith again, Mr. Financial himself, aka The Voice. And I brought him on during Women's History Month. And you're probably wondering, Women's History Month, that's a man. Like, what was he doing on there? I'm going to tell you why. When I have the honor of listening to Mr. Anthony Smith, call him Tony Smith, lovingly, brother. His wife has gone on to be with the Lord, but any time from the day that I met him and heard him speak of his wife, he always spoke of such grace and poise and such a loving mannerism that I asked him. He had no idea why, but I asked him to come join us, and then I told him why. And somehow or the other, I forgot to put the onions away. So it was a lot of tear jerk moments and whatnot, but it was an absolute beautiful thing. And I thank him so much for agreeing to come on and not even knowing why he was coming on. So and then we went to 54, and I'm skipping around because I'm talking about special guests, etc. Then we had Miss Regina McDermott come on, and another powerhouse. All I told her was, what my podcast was about, the Sonya Dungee podcast, and she was just bam, bam. She was on point 100%. Um, she is one of the top earners of Mary Kay products, and we talked about self-love and we talked about self-care, and it was just a beautiful episode. And then another tear-jerking moment came on at Exit 56 when we had Miss Cherise Kelly, who also is part of my glam team and one of my really good best friends. And I would never admit that to her publicly. She's one of my best friends because I always say she's annoying, pain in my rear end, and she's always leaving Peggy somewhere for me to trip over. We're going to talk about that. So anyway, in that episode, and a little about Cherise Kelly is that she had diversity hit her in such a hard way. She's diabetic. She was in a coma, and if not found when she was, she would have been with the Lord now. During the pandemic, she ended up having to get one of her legs from mid knee down amputated, and that ended up being the best thing for her. She went from looking gravely ill to just full of light and so refreshing, and she's so uplifting, and she does not take that for a handicap or use it in any way except for parking sometimes. Um, and she came on and she told her story. And again, somebody, I'm gonna start firing people because they don't be putting those onions away. But again, tear-jerking moments. And it was so amazing that we were getting feedback from people who were talking about her. And then I also shared last episode, because she was part of the celebration, that wherever we go, people are stopping her. Like, I need to drag her around, Anybody you want to pick up a date, you want to get to know somebody, grab her. Because everywhere we were going, men were stopping and talking to her and fellowshipping. And I was just like, hi, hello, I'm here. Even when we went away to Atlantic City, the girl was sleeping in a chair, and guy was asking me about her, and I was like, I don't know, ask her. Or I woke her up and they started communicating, and the rest was history. So she does not allow for a loss of limb to stop her in any way possible. We do everything that we've done before. She went with us on a trip. We went to the Bahamas, and then from there we jet set it and went right to Florida, like on a whim. And she came walking like she was like Queen Sheba of the beach. She had a gentleman here and a gentleman here, and they were holding her down as she walked for the first time in sand and beach. And I was just again looking, And so she comes and she spends time here with me and brings Peggy, of course. Peggy is the prosthetic. I named her Peggy. And Peggy has a way of getting in my way at times. So, me and Peggy have to have these conversations because Peggy be looking, better than me, groomed to the T. She get pedicures and all. So it was an amazing time. And I share that because of somebody who is watching, who had a loss of limb, or who is going through that process of it happening for them, that life doesn't end. In most cases, it's just the very beginning. I would say in all cases, it's just the beginning. And that does not define you in any way. and we're able to laugh about it. And we call her all kinds of names. She calls herself all kinds of names, and I'm not going to share those names publicly right now. It wouldn't be fitting, but yes, we do have our moments and our fun. And then following her on 57, we had Mr. Osmond Fletcher, and he came on and he was very transparent about his addiction to alcohol, and that he is a forever recovering alcoholic. And again, tear-jerking moments, but it was a very vulnerable moment for him to do that publicly, because when he goes to his meetings, which I had the pleasure of being invited to on an anniversary, but I've never been to one, and it was amazing. It was a beautiful experience, and I was honored to fellowship amongst the crowd. And then I became into episode 60 with Miss Tashi Smart, who wrote a book. And she too has an incredible story to tell. And I will share the book with you afterwards. I should have grabbed it. But I'm so proud of her because I met her years before, and the person that she has become is amazing. And I don't want to call it wrong, but I believe it's like I too have a story. And I had the opportunity to read the book, and I will share that at the end of the podcast as well. It's on Amazon, it's everywhere, and I suggest that you pick up a copy and read that as well. And then, let's see. Had to have some notes here so I didn't forget anything. Then I had some guest appearances. My first one, believe it or not, was with Miss Tennille Stewart, which she has a podcast called Happily Healed with Tennille. I suggest you check that out on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and she also is on TikTok. And she is amazing, and she tells her story of being a lupus warrior. And trust and believe, when I say she's a warrior, she is a warrior, because the prognosis that she was given was not good. And 9 years later, here she is thriving and changing lives on her podcast as well. And then I also had a second guest appearance with Win with Bren. And we had a lot of fun with that, and we talked about my cousin, Mr. Sonya Dungee, and what he does, and we just fellowshipped and really had a good time. And she gave me the opportunity to share my story, as well as to the platforms where I can be found. And then back in March, Miss Yolanda Cooksey invited me to be her special guest too, and she is amazing. Believe it or not, she was one of she didn't know at the time, but she was one of my inspirations, and I suggest you follow her as well, because her story is phenomenal. And with that, we celebrated 50 episodes on April 12th. I was like, where did we get to 100? Because we were just in April, we were celebrating 50, but we did. And then May 31st, I was also a special guest of Miss Marianne Cadet, who is an attorney in I believe it's the Bahamas. Yes. And she's a powerhouse. Check her out, the Marianne Cadet Show, on Saturday mornings at 11:30 on Facebook. I would highly suggest that you share in her podcast as well. And you can see I'm kind of jumping around here a bit, but I got more. Let's see. We also started a walk and talk with Sonya, and that started on March 17th, and I have over 215 of those walk and talks. I started my first masterclass, the Boss Masterclass, back on March 24th, 2024, and had several of those. So I welcome you to join our next masterclass, and we'll talk about that also before the end of this podcast. Um, I also had pop-ups. I started counting the pop-ups. I was like, oh my goodness, I was popping up here, there, and everywhere. I had mega pop-ups. One second, because I want to show you something. I don't know if you could see my sparklies, but I'm sparkling, everybody. Okay. So as far as my pop-ups went, I my very first pop-up was on March 6th of 2023. And I came on just to tell everybody, you woke up this morning, so everything else in life is operational. And I still say that today, and I mean it wholeheartedly. We go through trials and tribulations. We are going in a storm. We're in the storm, or we're coming out of the storm. And no matter what we're going through, as long as we wake up, everything else is operational. We can deal with it. We can deal with that. And that was my very first message. And yeah, I had a lot. Put it this way. I stopped counting. I was like, oh my goodness, another one? Because we did the 12 days of Christmas and I popped up every single day. So when I stopped counting, I had over 50 just pop-ups. Okay. We're not talking lives. We're just talking about the pop-ups by themselves. And I popped up every day, Elf on the Shelf, for the 12 days of Christmas, the first go around. The second time around was for this Christmas. I popped up here and there, Elf on the Shelf, within those 12 days. And I shared a message each and every day of the 12 days of Christmas as well. And I did give one free heart to heart with Sonya, one-on-one with me as well, which people did take the liberty of signing up for that. What else did I write here? 58. It's really bad when you can't read your own handwriting, but it's all good. So with that also came, I told you the walk and talk with Sonia's. There were well over 300 of those. And so as you can see, by what I'm saying here is that we did well over 100 episodes. We did specials, my sister and I. We did, I know I have, when my uncle, Mr. Theodore Greer, went to be with the Lord, my sister flew in from Jacksonville, Florida, and we drove down to Maryland to be with my aunt and family for my uncle's celebration of life, our uncle's celebration of life. And we did our lives on the road. Nothing stops us from coming together and being present for all of you, because as I say, you never know when somebody is watching, and you never know, somebody needs to hear the message or hear a story being presented by a guest, and so that they can relate and know that they are not by themselves. And so we did that, and we did each of the holidays. We celebrated. We came on and we did a live, and politically correct. I'm looking at my sister. I did 2 Thanksgiving last year and this year specials as best that I could, with Big Sister watching, and she knows why. And anybody who watched them, you know why as well. And then let's not forget about episode 79 and 82 with Mrs. Arnett Jones, and that was overcoming. The first episode, I just let her just tell her story because it was just beyond. It was about rejection. And then the second time we talked about overcoming the rejection. And I am so pleased with what she's doing today. She has been doing her own podcast on Mondays and Tuesday mornings, 7 p.m. God bless her soul. And then she just announced that her and her husband will be doing their own podcast called Meet the Jones, beginning the second week in January. So I suggest you check them out too, because they are an incredible couple that I had the honor of doing a 6 weeks course, a one-on-one with them. And they shared so much, and both of their stories is very powerful. And I was just empowered and just as humbled, and forgot to put away the onions listening to their stories on our one-on-one. So please check them out as well. And then episode 92, we had our very own coach Dawn Allen, and she came on more recently, and we talked about the 5 ways to be supportive through grief. And we shared both sides of the coin, as the griever and as the one trying to support from the outside looking in. And then Big Sis came back again last week for the 100th episode of the Sonya Dungee podcast as well. And we just had so much fun, and we fellowshipped, and it wasn't the norm, but you know what? As I said before, it's very hard to have fun and laugh when you're talking about such a serious subject matter, such as grief and hardship and life challenges, because it's not funny. It's not. But whenever I'm able to see, to show, and you see the other side of me, and hearing my story, which I'm about to tell you for those that don't know. And as I jump back over to the other side here, I'm back on Instagram. Yes, thank you for joining. Yes, I I just talked about you. Sharice Kelly is in the building on the Instagram side of the house as well. So Sharice, if you don't mind, if you can just jot down the names of the people that are on that side on the Instagram platform for me, I would greatly appreciate that. And then coming back over here into the comments. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I normally start at the beginning, but changed it up this time around. But before we even talk about that, so much has changed within the 100 episodes. We got a studio, and now we got a change of studio. We redecorated that, and we went harder and we went deeper in 2024. But the best is yet to come, and you will see later on tonight exactly what I'm talking about. So with that being said, again, yes, my name is Sonya Dungee, and I am a transformation coach. The reason why I am where I am today, and I am smiling and happy and joyful and full of life in front of you, is because of my transformation. But before I was able to transform into this person that you see today, complete, 100% complete, my dad, Mr. John Dungee, who's in the pictures behind me, he went to be with the Lord back on January 23rd of 2021, which was 5 days before his 83rd birthday, which was totally unexpected. We were told that he had 6 months to live, and we were in the height of the pandemic, and not even 48 hours later, after preparations and everything, my dad went to be with the Lord. I held his hand. As members of my family, as you heard my sister Dawn say, we have a sister in Sweden, and I have a sister in Florida, and a brother in Florida, another sister in Florida, and family all over. And being that we had to be unconventional because of the pandemic, my daughter, who, let me add her back into the stage. My daughter, Brittany Mack, which is coming back onto the stage, Um, I see you, but we don't see you on the stage. We'll give it a minute or two. There you are. Um, this young lady, which I took for granted, we'll talk about that as well. She agreed to Zoom to be in the room with my dad as he was transitioning and going to be with the Lord, so that, and very unselfish of herself, so that the rest of us could say our goodbyes to my dad, because they only allowed two people, and that was my daughter and my son, which surprised me. He wanted to be there, and he did for a little bit. And so in that, we were literally outside one of the coldest, frigid, snowiest days of January, but we were out there as close as possible as we could be with everybody else on the Zoom, when my daughter, I guess because the nurse felt comfortable around you, and Britt, I don't want to say, talk for you, so if there's more to it, please jump in. You're not on mute or anything. You want to share in that what transpired?
What, on the day?
Yes, like you were in the room, and take us to the point where you were in the room Zooming. You were in there with Papa John. That was just when you were there by yourself.
Yeah.
Back there, please.
Well, so it's okay. So, hi everybody. I'm Brittany. I'm Sonya's daughter. Yes, I was in the room because during that time we were height of COVID. I'm a healthcare worker, so I was out there working, right? And being a person of, I was basically, I was a vessel, a catalyst for the rest of the family to say their goodbyes. I call myself, I'm a healer. I'm a catalyst to healing, right? So being in the room, it was it was something that I was like, you called to do, this is what you got to do, like a duty. You had a duty, right? But being in there and being on the side of, as a family member, you really, almost like you gotta had to be strong, had to be, you had to be strong for, the family, everyone is, we were in crazy times. So being in the room with him and, watching him and everyone saying goodbyes, but I actually got to see it, got to see a side of someone, right, when they're coming to the end of their physical. And it was definitely a time where that they didn't want to say goodbye, but they had to, right? Right. It was their time. And what you guys didn't see was when everybody was saying goodbyes, we were all on Zoom and he heard every word because he started tearing. He started tearing and it was definitely heartfelt because it was immense gratitude, and I did have a sense of duty because of the time where we were in. There were a lot of families who did not have the opportunity to say goodbye, and being a healthcare worker during that time, I know. So for me, having this opportunity, that was something I didn't take lightly, and the amazing staff at the VA, the VA hospital we are, they are advised, all the healthcare workers are advised, like, no one person, da, 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 da. But there's a like a human, it's, they say the job is not what we do, it's who we are, right? Every nurse that was in there, healers and love and compassion, she saw what was happening and she's like, bump the rules, F the rules, everybody come in. Like it's ridiculous. And I remember her, and she was so awesome and so great because I'm like, that's what I do. Like, at my job, anything to help a patient, I'm like, I do first and ask forgiveness later. And that's what she was on. She was really like, call your mom, get everybody in. Everybody can say, she's like, this is someone's life, ending. And it was just so amazing. So, mom, you were able to say, able to see your father. And like I said, it's something that in that time, no one was able to do you know so
Yes.
yeah, it was definitely, it didn't, being a sense of I'm a vessel catalyst to everyone saying goodbye. It didn't hit me until like after, like it was like a rush of like emotions, like, oh, but in that moment it's like, okay, the job has to be done, got to do this, right? So yeah, that was my experience during that time.
Well, I'm gonna tell you thank you. I don't know if I told you thank you before. I know it was a hard job, and I was telling Sonya that I felt blessed to be able to say my goodbyes to Dad because I felt that I had closure. And I told her that a lot of people at that time, a lot of families did not have closure, that they
No.
had their loved ones passed on without them, that they were saying they had to wade through the windows and that's how they had to communicate. So even though it was a sad time, I felt closure where I got to say goodbye. I want to thank you for that. I know it wasn't easy. I know you was a vessel, but you was doing your duty, but you are a human being as well. We never got the chance to tell you thank you or see how you was after the fact and see if you was okay,
Mhm.
because that was one thing is duty, but then at the end you're still a human being, you have feelings, and it still was your grandfather as well. So I want to be sure that to say thank you, I bless you, and that I hope that we didn't make you feel any kind of way that we didn't check on you afterwards to see you. So if we didn't, I apologize, and I hope you was fine and you are well now.
Oh, thank you.
You're so
um
welcome.
and afterwards, this whole experience, like you can go through the pandemic and having that, it's
Hmm.
been a whirlwind of emotions.
Hmm.
And going, just a year ago, the start of that, and then having, his passing, and then going on after, um it's been heavy.
Hmm.
um and we don't I don't get a lot of check-ins.
Hmm.
um they would say like, oh, you're strongest soldier. I'm like, I'm gonna go into 2025 and I'm talking with the universe God and like, listen, I'm not your strongest soldier. I'm not taking the title because
Hmm.
like going through such a we're going on 5 years, right? But of this, it's like we don't get enough check-ins, and it's a lot that I have, as any healthcare worker, that
Hmm.
we endure. It's a selfless job that we do. What I did was a selfless thing. It was just about get, it was like I was a door, like be able to say goodbye to him. And it is heavy. It is a lot. It's a heaviness that we have, and it was that I was holding. you know, I wasn't okay. Even after that, I wasn't okay for a little while.
Hmm.
Meaning that's happening, and then going into like, gotta go back into the work, and it's like, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
also
it's
but you also have to reach out to everybody else too, because everybody's don't know who needs what whenever. So we have to do better. Not to say you, but we have to do better as far as saying, "Hey, how you doing? I need to talk to you," or "Hello," or "Let's get together," or just call and say, "Hey, what's up?" Because we
Yes.
all have to do better. Because we all assume that we are women and women are strong, and sometimes we
mhm.
need that little lift of hello, how you doing, just to check in and say, man, I'm having a bad day. I want to cry. I want to
Yes.
do something. We have to do better, and it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like Sonia and I, after they passed away, we were really super tight. We were tight before, but now we're almost talk every day. So we check in each other all the time. So we have to do better as well as checking on our kids as well. Because my daughter told me, Mom, you're cold. Because when Daddy died, I was not saying I was okay with it, but because I had the closure because of you, I felt 100% better, And because Sonya said that, things that Daddy, I think he didn't tell us a lot of things going on with body. So I think I'm not saying that he wanted to go, but I'm not saying he was ready to go. But I think he was in a position. He was saved, which was a great thing. I think he felt better about that. But because of I felt that he was saved, and because you gave me closure, I was okay. I was okay.
Mhm.
I thought I was like being cold, but I really was okay. I had closure. You gave me closure. So I was okay. Sonya, that whole situation, but I was okay
Right.
because I was okay. And my daughter wasn't. She thought I was cold, but I wasn't. I was in different level, a different understanding of life. That makes sense.
Yeah, there's
Makes a lot of
different levels to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's different levels to grieve it. Um and that's what it is about, like, people, like, when things happen and we're going through the grieving process, like, there's no right or wrong, and there's nothing you can say or do. It's like it's like a dark tunnel that you just got to get through to find the light,
Mm-hmm.
you know again. And what I do, I can say, like, going through this process, like, course of the start of the pandemic, I was in my personal development workshop, so that was keeping me through the pandemic. And then after, with Papa John adding
yeah.
that, I
Give
was
me one
still
of those
into my personal development
Mhm.
workshops. So I think that was keeping me,
a
like,
whole
like, calm,
a
sane,
whole
like, just working through it, right? Doing the work, working through it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no
spiritual.
right or wrong for grieving. And I think that's the reason why with mom through this process,
Right.
I
On the other grocery.
I allowed her to, like, do the grief, and was there, like, not just like, okay, I'm here when you need me, I'm here. you know Sometimes you just need people just to
Yeah.
be a person there and be like, all right, we're just gonna sit in silence. Well, you're gonna do your thing and I'm just gonna sit right here. Like, you're just there. And sometimes you're not there as a person, you're there as energy.
Right.
you know and that's how
Yeah.
I like to see it. Like, some people are just there as energy, and just like, here you are, just being that, like, guiding you to that light, right? you know like I said, there's no easy way to get
Right.
through that. And yes, also, as adults, parents, it's when parents that have children that are adults now, um they still need to be, like, checked up on, as
Mm-hmm.
well as, like, checked in on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one thing if, like, you guys are grieving, we're trying to be there for you, but then, like, who's checking in on us? It's like yeah. So that's what I say, for, like, adults
Mm-hmm.
that do have adult children, they still need check-ins, see if
Right.
they're okay and what's happening. That would be great.
For that,
because
very
we're
much.
because
Well,
like
have a
we're new to
multi.
this. Like, we're new to, like,
Well, we used to have the Dungee. Every week, was it? Every week, every month we had the Dungee check-ins. What
Yes.
was it? Might have to do.
Every
Start doing that
Sunday.
again. Might have to do that
I'm with
every,
that.
every. Might have to do it again. We had the check-ins. We had the check-ins with the sisters and brothers. Might have to do it with the nieces and nephews or something like that. I don't know.
We'll just do the Dungeon Family check-in every week. We'll figure out a time and make it work. And I recommend that those of you who are watching or watching later on the replay, think about doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
Life is short, tomorrow's not guaranteed. And like, I, up until most recently, when Brittany, Dawn, and I spoke about it, we didn't even think about Brittany outside
Mm-hmm.
of grieving and things, because
Mm-hmm.
she was the one, like her mother, like always the cheerleader, the one that the Mikey from the Life commercial. Nobody else wants to do it, but she'll do it. I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a lot like that. So I
yeah, I can do that.
subconsciously took her for granted and wasn't thinking like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, how did she feel? Because she's in the medical field, she does this all the time, but she doesn't, and that was her grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And And then on top of that, you're watching somebody in a room by yourself, zooming transition.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, but um, so I thank you for sharing your story, and so bring me to where we are talking about right now. And again, I want to thank you so much to the nurse who didn't give a damn
Mm-hmm.
and didn't care what the rules and regulations were. She was a human being first and
Mm-hmm.
was thinking from her heart. So even though it's been a couple years later, I feel like it's our civic duty to reach out to her. Let's find out who she was, and send a nice letter to her or call her and thank her. I'm sure she's still there, um, blessing so many more patients.
We could do flowers, something like that.
Places.
Something sweet and
Yeah,
sentimental. Mm-hmm.
because she was, and not only that, we didn't even tell you this part. Brittany, I believe your phone or something kept dying because you were trying to call us and everything else in the midst of everything. And they let her charge the phone, like outside of the room, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing because we always hear the bad stories about what happened in hospital settings during a pandemic. So it's
Mm-hmm.
refreshing when you're able to hear that through the trial, the tribulation, and through the hurt and the pain, something of a positive nature came
Mm-hmm.
from that, because she didn't have to allow us to do that. Or
That's
they
true.
could even said no to the zooming, because
Mm-hmm.
some people would look at it as like, oh, that's morbid. But when you can't physically be there for your loved one, you have to think
Mm-hmm.
outside the box. And that's what she was able to provide for the rest of the family. So thank you for that. So I wanted you to hear that perspective, and not because we're in the middle of a celebration. You're like, how could you just talk about that? But I wanted her to speak of that. And I wanted my sister to put her input in it, because that gave you a real live feeling and understanding of what we were going through in those moments. And because of that, as I said, and as Brittany attested, I never, ever held the hand of anyone who was transitioning. Matter of fact, my grandmother always told me, you don't do any of that. But I did. And it was hard to let go. And it was hard to tell them that it's time. And honestly, you might have heard me say it one time, but I don't normally talk about it. But being I was the only sibling that was there in the moment in New York at the time, I had to tell them when it was time to let go. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to do that because I knew that was it. And so I cried and I screamed, and I just didn't want to do it. I don't want to be that person. But I ended up having to do that. Even though my siblings was there, it was just having to say those words. And in that moment, I started spiraling out of control. And it got to the point where I can't say I didn't want to be here, because that never entered my mind. And I didn't drink, and I didn't smoke, and I didn't abuse anything. But I went into this really dark place where all I did was went to work because I had to pay bills. Because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't have done that, even though it was right across the living room into the shisha room. Just all I had to do was turn the computers on. But that's all I did. I did my 7.5, 8, 6 hours, whatever my tour was for the day, closed down, walked back across, shut the door. And I continued to do that for 342 days. I lost weight. I didn't even realize it. If I had to, I probably wouldn't have. But I wasn't eating. Didn't even realize that. It wasn't like I said, I don't want to eat today. You're just all over the place. I was so stuck that I just felt like I said, I always say that hamster on the wheel, or going around and around, and that's all you're doing every single day. You can't get off of it. You can't stop. You're just stuck. And that continued for 342 days until I just couldn't take it anymore. And I knew I was here for a purpose. I knew that it wasn't I who died. I had 3 grandchildren at the time that I wasn't spending any time with. I had adult children that were just there. I didn't know they were calling my sister, ratting on me. I didn't know any of that. Anybody asked me if I was okay, I lied and I said I was, and I wasn't. I was sneaking off to the cemetery every chance I can get, unless they were blocking me and asking me, where are you going? Because that's basically the only time I left the house, but I never got to go by myself because somebody always had to go with me because they were concerned. In retrospect, Brittany, I told them the story about how I was locked in the SUV and I was forced to eat that chicken sandwich, or I couldn't get out the car, and I had 2 in the front and I had 2 on my side, so I couldn't go anywhere unless I ate the sandwich. And now you think about, oh, it was just, but when you don't want to eat and your mind is just like this and you don't care, you know, it takes a whole village of support. It takes that community of support. And I had it when I didn't realize that I did have it. But fast forward, I knew that my dad wouldn't have that of me. I knew that I had a purpose in life. I knew that I was a volunteer and that I love life. I love people. I made that conscious decision. It so happened that Mr. Darren Walker, I want to say, was looking for me, but he was had started up a coaching business, and God led me down that path. I made the last call of, matter of fact, December 31st of 2021. And he told me if I was coachable, if I teachable, if I did what I was supposed to do and showed up, and he would show me what to do. And that is the reason why I'm here today, because I was coachable, teachable, and I invested in myself. And in the beginning, I thought I was going to prove to him that I'm coachable and I'm teachable and I'm showing up, but I wasn't proving anything to him. I was proving it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, I started classes and personal development and just learning and growing in my faith. And it brought me to where I am today. And now today, I get to do the same thing. I get to give back and I get to be fully in my purpose, because I help those who are struggling with hardship, with grief, with life challenges, go from suffering in silence and feeling stuck with no direction and no end in sight, the same way I did, so that they can become resilient and empowered with an attitude of expectation and excellence, achieving economic independence so that they can be destined for their greatness, for their very best, while walking in their true purpose. And so that's what I do. I lead by example. I put myself out here regardless of how uncomfortable it is. I'm sharing my story and will continue to share my story for the next hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes later. I'm so grateful for all of you. I'm so grateful for you, my big sis. And my big sis has been doing big things too, because not only have I invested in myself, she did as well. And what do you do and who are you now?
Hello, hello, hello. My name is Coach Dawn Allen. I'm the CEO of Stay Sexy Wellness. So what I do is I help middle-aged individuals who feel unseen, forgotten, go from being stressed out to having energy, drive, and motivation by making small changes in their nutrition, in their self-care, in their movement, so they can become fit, fine, fabulous, and so sexy, loving themselves from the inside out. That's what I do. Help individuals.
Yes, and where do they find you?
They can find me Stay Sexy Wellness at IG, Stay Sexy Wellness on YouTube, or Dawn Allen on Facebook.
And Brittany, if you can pop back up, she left the studio, but hopefully she can come back in, because I want her to tell you a little bit about herself and what she does. I'm very proud of her. both of my daughters, as a matter of fact. But Brittany, so who are you, and tell them what you do and how can they find you as well.
Mm. Hi guys, I'm Brittany again. I'm a responsible, authentic, and trusting woman. Um, I have I am CEO of B Lips. I have a lipstick line. We embody shades of power, one lip at a time. I can be reached on Instagram, B underscore lips underscore. Definitely check me out on follow me on B underscore lips underscore on Instagram because I have we got some new lippies that are dropping this year, January. I know my daughter's so happy. I was like, I know, because I'm the type of person I've been like, all right, I gotta make sure it's right. Like, but yeah, so that's gonna be dropping in January. So excited about that. And so got some other things that are happening. But yeah, what I do, and also with that, like I said, I'm a healthcare worker. I do quote unquote life coaching on volunteer life coaching on the weekends through my personal development company. Um, yeah, I'm an Aries, single.
Thank you. But yes, B Lips is
Throw
also
that out there.
yeah, B Lips is also one of my sponsors, and I told her the other day, Brittany, B Lips ain't sponsoring nobody. You got some more lipsticks, you know?
I I know moms didn't ask me nothing, and I'm keeping everything like so because I'm just I'm getting it out. I'm getting it out. I just don't want to like throw something at you and you be like, what is this? They gotta be right. Like stuff gotta be right. So stuff is right now.
Because we are looking
Stuff
for
is right now. So
the
yes.
Sonya Dungee podcast is looking for sponsorship for
Yeah, I
2025.
want some lipstick too. I'm waiting.
I know
Yes.
I have lip glosses, I have matte lipsticks, I have lip liners, mascara. Yes,
Yes,
it's
yes,
it's
yes.
coming.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, I have everything. Like 2025, it's like we're going. So yeah, so just give me just I'm going to challenge myself. Give me at least just mid January, and I'll be able to get that out.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
2 weeks. The
And
15th, you want to see it.
I was like, just give
Yes.
me. I'm like, give me that because yeah.
You want to
So
see flyers. Yes.
yeah.
yes, I
So
don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if your sister is around or not, but I know she's getting dressed to go out, but one of the things that we will be doing in 2025 is also showcasing, highlighting entrepreneurs up and coming or established already. And as you can see, we have a family of CEOs. I'm not going to say all women, but we got that women power thing going on. And so my daughter Taylor, she's CEO of Drip City, so she does a lot of custom attire as well. So she'll probably get me if I put her on the spot at this moment. But that is the little AV guy's mommy. Um, and then I definitely can't wait for you to also meet my niece. Is it Looks by London? Love Looks by London, and the girl got it going
Love
on as
look.
well. So Love Looks, and
Mhm.
yeah, she's doing her thing out in the Jacksonville, Florida area. But she'll go anywhere, if if you really need her. There's a need and a want, and I suggest you need and want her because the girl's good. The girl's got it going on. My daughter's probably hiding out, but it's all good. But so we are going to have some new looks in 2025. We're going to do some amazing things. We're going to have more guest appearances. And I love that we are able to fellowship the way that we do because this is a podcast and I normally try to keep it under an hour, but I don't rush at the same time. And sometimes things that need to be heard um, a lot louder and clearer. So I want to thank y'all for rocking with us for the past 100 plus episodes and walk-in talks with Sonya and the lives and the specials and um, just having my back when I need it the most and you don't know. So, we've done a lot of amazing things, and I had the distinct pleasure of being a guest on the Be Iconic World with Mr. Darren Walker twice. And so that was incredible as well. So we're going to be doing a lot of JV partnerships and whatnot in the days to come. We gotta put on a little party hat. I know Donna forgot to tell you, but Brittany had her party hat on too.
Awesome.
Brittany, you got the horn too.
You didn't tell me.
So this
Yes,
is
but I'm not blowing it.
I'll blow for you. Love my pink. So this is to many episodes to come and celebrating our 100th. And also, I see that Nettie is on Instagram, and there are messages that were left on Instagram. So, so I'm over here on Instagram. We're talking, and Nettie said it seems like the healing has taken a greater place in you all lives. In all your lives, the closeness that you have is greater through the grief, and the love is stronger. Just keep on checking in on each other. Amen. Thank you so much. She also said, if anyone can learn anything from this podcast, it is always check in on your loved ones. Absolutely. And we got big ups and everything else on the Instagram side of the house. So I want to thank y'all for that as well. And to I don't want to raise a glass or anything like that, or we'll celebrate in the back in the back room afterwards. But it's just been amazing. Thank you so much. I have a boss masterclass that is coming up on Wednesday, January the 8th. I will drop the link in when I post. So please make sure that you also register for that. And it's going to be 5 key strategies to build resilience one day at a time. Looking very forward to that first masterclass of 2025. We also have this coming Wednesday, tomorrow, Mr. Gary Kavanaugh. He will be gracing us with his presence. This man, I heard his story. It is incredible. I just had to have him as a guest on our podcast. So he's going to be doing his very first guest appearance tomorrow at a special time, 7 p.m. I gotta get the guest when I can get the guest. So we agreed 7 p.m. 7 p.m. it is. So set those clocks for 7 p.m. Also, we have the following week, Wednesday, we're going to have another special guest, and that is going to be Miss Karen Smith Frazier, also with an incredible story. She will also be making her first guest appearance. These two are phenomenal, and I can't wait for you to hear both of their stories. Please continue supporting my sister, Coach Dawn Allen, Stay Sexy Wellness as well. And when will your next podcast be?
Tomorrow, 5:30.
Okay.
Hear me?
5:30 p.m. tomorrow. Stay Sexy Wellness on Instagram, Facebook, and also she's hitting the YouTube streets as well. And look out for her masterclass in the weeks to come as well. So with that being said, thank you, Miss Brittany Mack, aka my daughter, for coming and gracing us with your presence and sharing your story of what you experienced as well during the height of the pandemic, saying goodbye to Papa John. I know that I don't always thank you enough Because in my mind it's like she knows I love her, she knows I, but I honestly, that is one of my things for 2025 that I need to get better with. I need to, just as I say it for everybody else in social media land, I need to say that more to my loved ones, and you included. So I appreciate you. I am not saying it for the camera, but you are phenomenal. You are amazing. You are a great titi, or whatever your name is now, Tamari, as he calls you, Bay. I think he calls you Bay right now, because Namari is Namari, and Namari's gonna make up his own words and do his own thing. So thank you for that, and being the amazing titi to the other three grandchildren, Janiyah, Jalan, and Josiah as well. Um, Being in the medical field, I know is very difficult, and I have experienced that firsthand, that people take advantage and don't always talk to the people in the medical field very nicely. And I understand that, you guys, if you're watching, sometimes it's frustrating, but we have to pick our battles sometime and show appreciation for the people that are trying to help you out, and guide you through your issues. So hopefully, not hopefully, but I know you will have a better 2025. And let me tell you something. If my daughter tells me one more time somebody is not treating her right, I'm coming down there, and I'm going to deal with you guys, because it's not nice. We got to sprinkle kindness wherever we go. Okay? You got that right, Brittany? I'm going to put up a little sign, sprinkle kindness wherever we go. So we're going to love on each other, and we're going to respect each other, and we got great things coming for 2025. And Dawn, why don't you ask everybody what that question is that you have asked us for 2025? Let's close off with that, and then I have a question.
Okay, my question is, what is your word for 2025? What is if you have one word, what would be your word in 2025?
Brittany, do you have a word for 2025?
I do.
Oh, can we hear it?
I do.
Uh-oh, what's
It's
your
been
word?
a theme, a thread, 2024, and it's definitely for 2025 is surrender.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Very
it's definitely like surrender.
Hmm, that's deep.
well. And Dawn, Coach Dawn Allen, what is your word?
My word is wealth, but it's spelled WHEALTH. Because I work in the wellness and health area, I decided to merge the words together and put wealth to include wealth. You have to include health. Health is the new wealth. You cannot have one without the other. You have to be wealthy and not have health, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you can't enjoy it, what's the point? If you can't walk, talk,
Yes.
and not depending on other people to help you, what's the point? You need both. You need both. So that's my word, wealth. The WHEALTH, wealth.
Well, my word is, from being a resilient and being an overcomer, my word is quintessential. And that means embodying or possessing the essence of something. And as you know, essence of the soul. So it just fit
Okay.
perfectly. So quintessential it is. So I also want to read some other comments here. We have congratulations, ladies. So proud of you all. Congratulations, 100. It's party time. I thought it was a birthday for Brittany, silly me. So I see it's 100 episodes for you, Sonya. That's just great. And Karen Smith Fraser, thanks for joining. We were just speaking of you. So excited that you would be a guest on the 8th and telling your story. So thank you for joining as well. And mine is joy, because I love to see others happy and encourage with joy. Yes.
Nice.
So
Good word.
yeah, so if you have a word, you can go to what is it? Is it Stay Sexy Wellness, or is it Dawn?
Yeah. The
You
Stay
can go.
Sexy Wellness on Instagram. On Facebook, Success to Wellness. I have also Dawn Allen on Facebook, and YouTube is Success to Wellness.
Yes. So I dropped my word in there earlier, Quint Essential. I recommend that you guys do the same, and let's start 2025 off right. One last thing for both of you ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, please fill in the blank. Be always destined blank.
Greatness. Oh, greatness.
Okay,
you want to
but
say you want to say you hear it so much time. You want to say greatness. And I know you're might not supposed to say greatness. So let's see. Always destined for. I guess I say best quality of health. I gotta have to go to
Amen.
health, man.
Amen. Brittany?
Yeah.
Always be destined. I always say always be destined to walk in your purpose and living your purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
That's my daughter. Okay. See, we have a lot of similarities there. Absolutely, positively. So with that being said, be safe. Stay well.
Mm-hmm.
God bless you all. And be always destined for greatness. Your greatness. Don't you dare compare your beginning to somebody else's middle. Be safe tonight. Party on. Do whatever it is that you have to do. And you will be seeing me again tomorrow on the Sonya Dungee podcast with our special guest, Mr. Carrie Kavanaugh, at 7 p.m. EST. Bye for now.